I'm truly at a loss here. This situation has gotten worrying, and I don't know what to do with it. Since about a week, my husband became convinced I'm pregnant. I have no idea why, because I'm not. We haven't even started trying, though we do have plans in the future. We were just making conversation, and yeah, I did mention feeling tired, but that's all. A few hours later, he just came in so excited. I told him I'm not, but he won't let it go. He has made remarks about how happy he is, what a wonderful mother I'll be, what our baby will be like. Not all the time, but it has come up multiple times a day. I told him I'm not. I even took a test because even I started wondering, and it was undoubtedly negative. I showed him, and he just got annoyed, said tests can be wrong. He didn't speak to me for the rest of the evening. The next morning, he acted as if nothing happened. When I tell him I'm not, he just kind of shuts me out. I lost my shoot yesterday when we were in bed, and he put his hand on my stomach, told him he's acting crazy. I'm not pregnant, and his behavior is scaring me. He went to sleep in the guest room after that and left for work early in the morning. I haven't seen him or spoken to him today. I'm just at a loss. I don't know where this obsession is coming from. I even asked him if I gained weight, if that's what's gotten him confused. He assured me I didn't. I'm thinking of contacting his parents, or maybe a therapist or something. I honestly don't understand what's happening, and I'm worried about my husband. Now for a few important comments. When someone addressed the fact that this could be a delusion, and delusions can become violent, OP said, "Oof, this reply hit me hard. I appreciate it a lot. I'm very torn. I love my husband very much and am worried about him right now, but I feel increasingly uncomfortable at home as well." Another commenter mentioned that the whole phantom pregnancy thing usually only affects women, but suggested that as time goes on, he would recognize that she's not pregnant. OP responded, "I'll try to do that. It just feels like such a weird response to wanting a child." When someone said this isn't an urgent enough response to what seems like a serious delusion, OP replied, "Fair, it is very unlike him. I might call my mom, ask her if I can stay with them for a bit. If only to get all of this sorted. I just want him to snap out of it. I miss my husband as I know him." Another commenter asked if he would harm her if he thought she got and baby on a living, to which OP said, "I hadn't even thought of that, sorry. Thanks for your reply." One commenter shared that their husband knew they were pregnant before they did, and OP responded, "Oh my, that's wild. Either way, I'll meet with my gyno, if only to have some conclusive proof that I'm not cheery." Now for the next day's mini update. Things escalated yesterday, but I'm with my mom and his parents are at our place. Now for the 2-day update. Hi everyone. I hope it's okay I post this update. I really appreciate everyone asking if I'm safe, and I am. I wish I could give clear answers, but I can't. Things escalated when I tried to speak to him, keeping some of y'all's advice in mind. I sat him down and explained to him that I'd love to have kids with him in the future, but that I'm not pregnant right now, and that his insistence worries and scares me. I told him we could go to the doctor together if that would put his mind at ease, or I could take another test in front of him. I was just hoping to snap him out of it somehow. He got very agitated, said many hurtful things, and accused me of being a liar many times. That I'm trying to keep our baby away from him and so on. Nothing made sense, and I wasn't feeling safe anymore. I knew my husband would never harm me in any way, but that wasn't my husband. Things got worse. He did hurt me, but nothing permanent or even emergency care worthy. I also know that if he was in his right mind, he never would have done anything like this. I called mine and his parents, and I'm now staying with my mom. He did seem to calm down a bit when his parents arrived. I haven't spoken to him since then. His mother, she's an angel, is keeping me posted about everything. We all agree something is very off about him, and we don't know what it is. But he hasn't agreed to getting himself checked out in any way. I don't know how they'll go about it, but they say, and I painfully have to agree, that it's best to keep my distance for a bit, as most of it is aimed at me. I'm safe, so is he. I miss him so much and just want an answer as to why he's being like this. I keep trying to figure out if there were signs before or what I did wrong. Thank you all for the replies. They were a great help. It's so kind you cared to ask if I'm safe. Now for a relevant comment. A commenter said, "Let's pray it's not drugs, since he refuses to get checked out. I'm so sorry, OP. I hope everything gets better soon." I don't know if going back to him is a good idea, though. He physically hurt you. OP replied, "I do think that whatever is causing this is the reason he hurt. We've been together for some years now, and he's never even raised his voice at me up until this." OP also responds to many commenters and thanks them, saying, "Thanks. I've been reading all the comments. You guys are all so kind to me, but I'm scared shitless about what it could be, reading everyone's experience." Now for the next mini update, he has apparently agreed to get himself checked out, but I haven't heard anything else. Now for the 10-day update, he's in the hospital. Many people were right about it being a medical issue. I'll get more into it at some point maybe, but first need to see what's going to happen with him. I've seen him a couple of times. Sometimes he's his normal self, sometimes he can't stand the sight of me. We're managing somehow. Now for the update. 11 days later, I don't know if anyone will see this here, but you've all been so kind to keep asking whether or not we're okay. I hope I'll reach you like this. I'm going to keep this short. My husband has a brain tumor. A lot of people commented this, and I feel an immense amount of guilt that I hadn't considered it till then. All the headaches and other symptoms, in hindsight, we had previously dismissed because of his stressful work situation and so on. I'm beating myself up that I hadn't seen it before. A wonderful team of neurosurgeons, oncologists, and other physicians is figuring out the best approach here, if there is one. We'll hear more in the next days. I've spent more time with my husband. Some moments he's his amazing self, others he's filled with anger. It's difficult, but we're managing. I wouldn't have been able to without the support of our friends and family. I love my husband. This situation is terrifying. In moments of clarity, he's trying to make me laugh, so I don't worry. That's who he is. Thank you everyone for pushing me to get him checked out. Now for a few comments. I'm home now, but my husband's in the hospital. When asked if in his moments of clarity he recognizes how he's been acting, or if there's always some level of reality distortion, I said he seems mostly very confused, if that makes any sense. He has apologized, but his mind is just not working with him right now. Another commenter mentioned, this is not the first time they've seen a thread on Reddit where a brain tumor caused significant behavior changes. They hope the surgeons are able to remove it. And my husband's previous personality comes back. They asked if the doctors have given any info on what to expect after the tumor has been removed. I responded that right now it's the question if it can be removed. There's a lot we don't know right now. The doctors and nurses have been incredibly kind, though. Now for a side post. 3 weeks later, I can't say these feelings out loud, not to the people around me, so I hope it's okay I do it here. But I'm furious with my husband for getting sick. I know he's not to blame. I know he's suffering. Yet I'm still furious with him. I can't explain it. He's the love of my life. How dare he get sick? How dare he change anything about the wonderful life we have planned? How dare he leave me so much sooner than when we're old and senile? 2 months ago, our life was perfect. How could everything get so horrible so fast? I love him so much, it hurts. And because of that, I'm so angry with him right now. I feel like a horrible person. Now for the update, 9 days later, 6 weeks since the original post. It's 2 a.m. here, so I apologize if this is not very coherent. I'm going to step away from all social media, and I wanted to leave you with a brutally honest update. It's silly, but your support has meant a lot to me. Don't get me wrong, I have wonderful family and friends, but in a way, I have to comfort them too, and I can't deal with it right now. My husband is dying. In the 5 weeks since his diagnosis, he's gotten worse quickly. Today, the decision has been made not to continue treatment or even properly start it. He's not strong enough. He has a month, maybe. If we're lucky, I'm furious at the world right now, and I'm furious at him, which makes me an enormous witch, because what kind of person is angry at their husband for being ill? I love him so much, and I hate him for it. I'm sorry this isn't a better update. Wish you all the best. Now for a few comments. A top commenter said, "Fucking hell, I'm so sorry. I remember hoping it was schizophrenia and not a tumor. I'm still kinda hoping this is someone's creative writing venture, but I'm still freaking devastated for you." I know tears from a stranger on the internet aren't really a comfort, but they're still falling for you. I lost my little sister a few years ago. I love her so, so much. She was my world. I was like a half parent to her. I was planning my life on having her live with me. And after the very quick progression of an unknown illness, she was gone. I still can only imagine what you're going through. I'm so sorry. I hope you're already linked with palliative care. There's some amazing people. Take it literally, 1 second at a time, then 1 minute, then an hour, then a day. I was taking it an hour at a time for months after she died, and I still sometimes go day by day. If you can get grief counseling, go ASAP. I did phone sessions, can give you more info if you're in Australia. I mainly used my sessions to just talk about my sister, to tell stories and remember her, to have someone new know her, sending you love and light. I responded that this comment means a lot to me. Thank you. I'm sorry for what you've been through. Our medical team has been incredible, even dealing with my emotions with a lot of patience. I just wish this wasn't the path we had to take. Another commenter said, grief has different stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. You are in the anger stage, totally justified after the things you went through before diagnosis. You are angry because you are being robbed of the future together with your husband. Also, you know it's a hard road ahead that you didn't think would happen until you were both old and gray. I don't have advice for you, and I am so sorry you are going through this. Your feelings are normal and valid if that helps a tiny bit. Maybe speaking to a professional may help you also. Now for the final update. 4 weeks later, 5 months from the original post. He passed on the 16th. We had his funeral shortly after. Thank you for the messages. Wishing you all the best. Am I the idiot for refusing to drive across states to return my ex's watch after he kicked me out of our van? I was van lifing with my ex-boyfriend across the country. He kicked me out and all my stuff last week. I am now 2 states away and have his dad's watch. He's demanding I deliver it to him. So yeah, like the title says, we were both remote workers and decided that we could van life and see things while still working. We lasted about a month, and last week, he flipped out over the way I sipped my coffee and told me I had to leave. I thought he meant like we would pack up and figure out how to get me home. No, he meant I needed to get out with all my stuff in the middle of a state park in New Mexico and figure it out. I was scared and pissed, so I hurriedly packed everything and got out. A very nice older couple heard the screaming and saw me with a pile of my stuff and asked if I needed help. I said yes, and they said they would drive me to Albuquerque in their RV, and we could figure out what would happen next. Well, it turns out they are the sweetest people ever, and we eventually came to the conclusion it would be easier for me to travel with them home to Kansas. Now they've allowed me to stay, paying them insanely fair rent, food, etc. I just have to edit the wife's book and help the husband with his guitar playing. Well, it turns out that in the hurry of packing, I grabbed my ex's watch that was his dad's. I got in touch with him and told him I was sorry. It was truly an accident, and I had no intention of keeping it. How would he like me to get it to him? He said I needed to meet him in Utah. I said that was ridiculous. I could send it to him. He said that it was too valuable to trust to mail or FedEx and needed to be hand-delivered. I said I was in Kansas and not coming to Utah, but I would return the watch to his brother when I go home in March. He said no, the only solution was for me to drive it to him. I said I didn't even have a car. He said, "You're probably freaking half of Lawrence. Use one of theirs." At that point, I blocked him. The watch is pretty valuable and has a lot of sentimental value, and I will return it. It was my oversight that I have it in the first place. What are my obligations to follow his instructions to get the watch back to him? Now for some comments. One commenter said, "You gave reasonable options. Let's say he files a police report that you stole it. You have proof that you contacted him and asked where you could send it. He declined." Another commenter added, "Dude sounds like a psychopath. Do not, under any circumstances, willingly meet up with him in person ever again. Don't let him know where you live. This level of douchery is a sign of something being very off, and you don't want to be there again when he short-circuits again. You were extremely lucky. to have found the people you did. Who knows where you'd be if that had not happened. Now for the 1 week update. I posted exactly a week ago. The short story was I was van living with my ex-boyfriend. He kicked me out after a temper tantrum, and I caught a ride with some awesome people. I discovered I had my ex's dad's watch that had lots of sentimental value. I told him, asked where I should send it. He demanded I drive from Kansas to Utah and return it even though I don't have a car. Well, lots of mixed advice, but most people said the best option was to contact his brother. Before I did that, I decided to unblock my ex just to give him one more chance to give me an address where I could ship the watch. Actual text conversation. Me, hey, I'm sorry I blocked you. I just didn't appreciate the insults, but I want to get your dad's watch back. Can you let me know where to send it? I'll pay for shipping. No problem. Less than 30 seconds later. Him, I stashed the watch in your bag because I wanted to prove to myself what an awful person you are, and good job at proving me right again. I was like, wow, so many people in the original said that he probably put the watch in my stuff as I was packing in order to force communication and force the opportunity to see him again. Well, you were exactly correct. I didn't even respond to his text and blocked him again. I have no intention of keeping the watch, so I decided now it was time to contact his brother, who, along with his wife, has always been very nice to me. He was super appreciative, and we spent a couple of days going back and forth figuring out the shipping, but the watch arrived to him on Friday, and all is good. He even Venmo'd me $1,000 for being so honest, contacting him, etc. I make really good money, so I told him it wasn't necessary at all, but he insisted. So we agreed to donate it to a food pantry here in Lawrence. But I'm still so creeped out thinking about the day when he kicked me out of the van, and he was screaming at me, calling me all sorts of names and scheming to stay in touch with me. He was slamming all my stuff into bags, but that was cover for him hiding the watch. The fact that it was so deliberate, yet he thought of it so quickly, is so scary to me. We got along so well before we left, and he always seemed like such a great guy. I don't know if the confined space of the van is too much for any couple, or if it brought out a side of him I didn't know was there. It makes me sad and scared at the same time, but relieved it's over. Now for a few more comments. One commenter said, He framed you to prove to himself that you were awful? He's dumb enough to fall for his own frame job? I really truly can't wrap my head around how stupid he must be. Another commenter added, what I don't get is his logic, that this would prove OP's a bad person. How the frick was she supposed to know about the watch when you kicked her butt out in a state she didn't know about until after she got to safety, possibly thousands of miles away? Like you thought she was just going to be running back to you? Frick that dude. Then another commenter said, I think in his batshit crazy mind, she was bad to not instantly head to Utah to return it. He's clearly insane. Am I the idiot for refusing to invite my so-called friends to my wedding after they excluded me from theirs? Here's the script based on the text you provided. A friend in my circle, Greg, met Shannon about 5 years ago, and they immediately hit it off. Everybody loved Shannon because she's friendly and fun. They were everybody's favorite couple, and we all knew they were perfect for each other. The engagement was expected and welcome news. Our friends were buzzing about the wedding. Then the invitations went out. It sucked seeing save-the-date magnets on everyone else's fridge, knowing I didn't get one. Feeling left out really sucks. But it gets worse. I understand how stressful wedding planning is, and I believe nobody should feel obligated to invite people they don't want. It's their day. I didn't express to anyone that I was hurt about being excluded. I didn't want to be looked at even worse than I felt I was. But one friend stood up for me. When the wedding came up in conversation and people talked about booking flights and rooms for the destination wedding in New York City, I was asked if I booked yet. I said we weren't invited. Nobody could believe it, but I insisted I wasn't upset. I didn't want to cause trouble and be the bad guy. I heard through friends that my friend Tracy thought it was messed up that I wasn't invited. A month before the wedding, I got a text from Greg saying sorry for forgetting to send an invite, but that they would love to have us come. It was too late for me. I couldn't get away from my job, and I didn't have money set aside for an expensive NYC destination wedding. Every flight and hotel was unaffordable. I texted him back that I couldn't make it. The wedding came and went, and I felt bad. I saw Facebook pictures of my friends having the time of their lives. It looked like a great wedding. There's even a picture of just the group labeled the crew. I felt so left out. Typical thoughts surfaced. They don't like you. They think you're annoying. If you can't identify the schmuck in a group, that means you're it. Then Shannon messaged me on Facebook asking why I didn't RSVP and said they missed me. RSVP? Doesn't one have to be invited to RSVP? I got a text a month before the wedding. Just as I feared, I'm the bad guy. I didn't say this to her. I apologized and mentioned how I spoke with Greg. I complimented the wedding pictures and said it looked like fun. I did everything to make it easier on her, and now I feel like a schmuck. That was this past summer, and I haven't seen them since. I feel like that's it for me in the group now. None of them responded to my birthday party invite this month. It felt like a message that maybe Greg and Shannon never liked me. My fiance gets along great with Shannon and is just confused. Seeing her confusion breaks my heart because she's a sweetheart. I feel like a complete loser who deserves this. I'll always appreciate Tracy for sticking up for me. She may never know how awesome it feels hearing about how she told everybody it was messed up that I was left out. I haven't spoken to her or anybody about how the whole thing made me feel because I didn't want to appear like I was making a stink. This whole thing just sucks. I feel like I don't have friends anymore. Soon I'll have a wedding of my own, and I'm afraid I won't have any friends there except for Tracy. How am I supposed to handle who I invite so it doesn't seem like I'm leaving people out for petty revenge? How do I navigate a toxic situation that I had no hand in creating? I still feel like I'm in the dark or could be overreacting. What the hell? Now for a few important comments. One commenter said, "Dude, you clearly tell them you were not respected like the others. Cut them out. This is about self-respect. Find new friends, don't turn back." Then OP replied, "Thanks for reading and responding. Yeah, I've been thinking, I guess I can have my younger brother be the best man and just not have groomsmen, considering the circumstances. It's just messed up how I did everything I could to avoid looking like the bad guy. Yet here we are. I'm the bad guy regardless of anything I did." Another commenter said, "That totally sucks. I would be hurt too. Do you think maybe Greg was in charge of sending invites to his friends and forgot? Or it got lost in the mail? It sounds like Shannon, at least, thought you were sent an invite if she was upset you didn't RSVP." OP responded, "Yeah, it could just be a simple misunderstanding, but word seemed to get around early that I didn't get a save the date, and even later didn't get an invite either. Tracy especially seemed to make sure everybody was aware that she wasn't happy about my exclusion. The other friends I spoke to didn't even suggest that it could have been a mistake, almost like they knew something I didn't, but didn't feel comfortable saying it. Only one person even spoke up on my behalf. I half took everyone's advice and brought it up with Tracy. She just confirmed that Shannon was full of shoot when she asked me why she didn't get my RSVP and wanted to absolve herself of guilt. I'm not sure if they forgot or if I just wasn't invited yet. But Tracy said we'd talk about it more tonight when she gets out of work. I spoke about it in depth with Tracy. It turns out Greg's best man, someone who was never in the gang but grew up with Greg, always hated me, and Greg thinks I'm annoying. Shannon later felt bad they chose not to invite me and pressured him to invite me over text, knowing I wouldn't be able to make it. Also, it wasn't only Tracy who thought it was wrong that I didn't get an invite, and the chatter is what made Shannon ask me why I didn't RSVP to make it seem like my invite was lost in the mail. It feels better knowing this, because, like I said, they don't have to have people they don't want at their wedding. But knowing Greg doesn't like me freaking hurts, because I always thought we were friends. Turns out he's the phony. Unfortunately, everybody else, except for Tracy and a few others, like Greg more than me, so they kind of felt like they had to choose a side after Tracy, and a few others, it turns out, brought up why I didn't get invited. Lots of people feeling guilty about this, apparently. They still felt like they had to choose a side for whatever reason, probably because most of them went to high school with Greg. Oh well, that's life. Thanks for the advice about being more assertive. Those of you polite about it were very helpful. Thanks. Now for a few comments. One commenter said, "Yeah, you don't need those two-faced jerks in your life. Congratulations on finding out before they borrowed money from you. When they get divorced, you can reach out to Greg and tell him that he deserves it." Then OP replied, "It's funny you bring up borrowing money because they're the type who always want to split the check when they order the most expensive shoot and always say, 'I'll get you back.' And I don't trust Venmo. I'll just give you cash when I go to the ATM and don't. On the plus side, I don't have to pay for part of their steak and lobster dinners anymore." When asked if OP would invite Greg, Shannon, and the best man to his wedding, OP said, "Nah, I don't think it would be right to force anybody to choose sides because that feels inappropriate to do to friends. I think everybody who stood up for me gets an invite. Greg can have his best man and be the cynical bastards they are together. Honestly, nobody really likes the best man all that much because he's always acted like an obnoxious jerk when he's been around us. They can have each other." When told to talk to Greg directly and get it from the source, OP said, "Actually got confirmation and an apology from someone else. Not everybody was cool with it, but she's the only one who really has a spine and spoke up for me. Turns out they fricked up and caused all kinds of drama between people in the group. Some people wanted to keep me out of the loop so I wouldn't feel insulted. I kind of get it, but it just makes me appreciate Tracy more." Then another commenter, Rai Raijan, said, "In this situation, you aren't the bad guy from my perspective. And to be honest, a destination wedding is a weenie move on your friend's part. The sheer inconvenience of one is like weenie move supreme, especially the fact they chose NYC. WTF. Plus, some people turn into jerks after marriage, and statistically speaking, your married male friend is going to be spending much time with his wife now than his friends. In some ways, marriage is like high school. You go to it with your friends for a little while, then you start to drift away from another by barely communicating." OP responded, "Shannon is from up there, and she wanted to be closer to her family. Yeah, turns out they didn't want me there and felt pressured once some of my friends realized. I guess it was easier to make the decision when it was just the two of them, and they lost confidence in the choice when people found out." Rai Raijin replied, "I feel it's best to let the consequences of this affect them and just move on." To which OP concluded, "Yeah, hopefully they learn from this and aren't such jerks in the future. I don't see Greg ever changing from the cynical and negative guy he is, but you never know."